All right. I am Abe Zucca, and this is Stalin's Closed Systems of Colossus, written and read by me, Abe Zucca. This is part 7. Um, check out my art at zuccagallery.com. Google my name, Abe Zucca. Check out my artwork and my other videos, my prior 8-part series on the unborn levels of Scientology. And then my future project's going to be fractal Islam. So let's continue the reading of Stalin's Closed System, the dialectic of the unfinished future. Socialist contradiction, encirclement, and proleptic time. The present is seized by the future, but not yet carried by it. History never waits for ripeness, it storms ripeness. Socialism is possible and impossible in the same gesture. Contradictions that cannot be resolved internally. Every socialist formation is born double as the completed overthrow of the old order and the incomplete repair of the world still structured by the outside. The peasants are collectivized, the bourgeois expropriated, industry reorganized, but the horizon of the security remains held hostage by the global system in which it attempts its premature birth. How many books do I have? I have too many. Too many books. The contradiction between internal socialism and international capitalism is the only contradiction that cannot be dialectically sublated from within. This is all green screen back here. I don't really read these books. It's just a prop. All other contradictions between workers and peasants, between town and countryside, between industry and agriculture can be fought, intensified, and driven towards equilibrium. But the contradiction with the capitalist world system is structurally exterior and the structurally interminable. Socialism in one country is possible as construction and impossible as completion. Possible as a mode of production, impossible as a final form. Possible as a sovereign economic rhythm, impossible as a guarantee of survival. The contradiction is not a defect of thought, but the very motor of the political program. The internal victories of socialism, collectivization, planning, elimination of exploiters do not deliver finality, they expose the remainder, the world outside that refuses synchrony. The revolution discovers itself not as a culmination, but as a delay structure, forever shadowed by the unfinished globality that alone would seal it. If you guys have any questions, this is a book, Stalin's Closed Systems of Colossus. This is part 7. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not really into just constantly droning on reading, but this is what I'm going to do until I get a good group of followers and thinkers on this page. I probably just need about 10 or 20 true thinkers. I really don't need an audience. I just want 20 hard-hitting, inquiring students, leaders even, master teachers. Encirclement is not geopolitical condition, but a temporal one. It creates a chronic suspension of the future. Socialism is forced into a provisional mode because the world does not yet speak its political language. The danger of intervention is the negative transcendental of early socialism. It conditions every plan, every reform, every campaign. Nothing is fully internal, for the possibility of the restoration arrives from the beyond the borders of the economy. The fear of restoration is the inverted form of the hope for international revolution. One indicates the pressure of the future that has not yet arrived. The other names the pressure of the past that has not yet died. Security is not attained through consolidation alone. Only the globalization of socialism can abolish danger, hence the paradox. The domestic program is simultaneously necessary and insufficient. It produces the socialist state but cannot assure its continuance. Let me know if you have any questions. I am Abe Zucca. Check out my website, zuccagallery.com. I am a painter and a writer in downtown Phoenix. If you stumbled on this live feed right now, consider yourself special. Sit tight and just listen for right now. Proleptic communism, the future acting on the present. Communism functions not as a destination, but as a reverse causal power, shaping the socialist stage from behind the horizon. The future leaks into the present, bending its definitions, modifying its categories, forcing expansions of what socialism can include. The definition of socialism is continually rewritten by the gravitational pull of the communist ideal. Labor becomes freer, collective ownership expands, planning becomes more comprehensive, not because communism is near, but because its silhouette distorts the present. Global socialism doesn't end anything besides happiness. What's on the other end of happiness? Sadness? Is this how we're going to talk? I don't believe I said anything about happiness. The closer socialism draws to communism in practice, the more theory must find new differences to reopen the distance. Thus, new distinctions emerge about equality, value, commodities, the law of labor, the forms of property. These distinctions exist to present fusion. No, these distinctions exist to prevent fusion, even while the two forms secretly infiltrate one another. The delay of communism is productive, not obstructive. It creates a terrain where socialism is both intensified and indefinitely prolonged. The delay becomes the condition for inventing intermediate forms that neither Marx nor Lenin had foreseen. This isn't necessarily communism. This is Stalinism. Okay. There's no one actually going deep into Stalinism right now. So bear with me. This is not pro-socialism. This isn't even pro-communism. This is merely an investigation on Stalin's interpretations, Stalin's contradictions, most importantly. Let's continue. Appropriation. When socialism begins to look like communism, the socialist stage appropriates attributes once assigned to communism: collective labor, the elimination of exploiters, the planned economy, the disappearance of unemployment, rising cultural life. The border between socialism and communism blurs through overachievement. Every success of socialism threatens to dissolve the difference between the two stages. The more socialism accomplishes, the more it appears to realize the earlier prophetic descriptions of communism. The system thus requires new criteria of distinction: the persistence of commodity forms, the endurance of the law of value, the incomplete conversion of property, the survival of external capitalist pressure. These become the last bastions by which socialism is prevented from becoming its own teleology. Axioms on equality, difference, and persistence of needs. The socialist stage is not the abolition of difference, but the regulation of it. Wages differ, skills differ, needs differ. The system acknowledges differences precisely to prevent inequalities. Communism, too, presupposes difference from each according to ability, to each according to need. It is not a formula for sameness, it is a formula for structured differentiation. The communist horizon is not equality of situation, but equality of access. Thus, socialism and communism both require difference, but they index it differently. Socialism links difference to labor. Communism links difference to need. The continuity of difference weakens any naive fantasy of a universalized sameness. Even in its most ideal form, communism remains a differential polity. Laws of value, commodities, and the transition within the transition. Commodity production under socialism persists, but it is stripped of capitalist and subordinate to planning. It becomes an instrument rather than a master, enabling distribution without exploitation. The law of value survives under socialism, but only as a planner statistic. It no longer determines production, it mirrors it. The contradiction between collective property and commodity exchange represents the last material barrier between socialism and its further metamorphosis. Planning bodies must tactically manage the tensions so they do not become antagonistic. The first rudiments of communism appear in the transformation of commodity exchange into product exchange. These early beginnings carry the scent of the future, but only as a scattered embryonic forms, glimmers of another order nested within the present. I'm going to read that again. These early beginnings carry the scent of the future, but only as scattered embryonic forms, glimmers of another order nested within the present. Revolutionary preconditions, backwardness as material, not barrier. Backwardness is not an obstacle, it is the material from which the modern is felt most acutely. A revolution does not require numerical majorities but functional pivots. Every political system forms around its capacity to coordinate force, policy, surplus, and legitimacy. In peasant societies, the industrial proletariat can constitute a minority yet remain decisive if it controls the instruments of administration, production, and military discipline. Thus, political leverage replaces demographic weight as the defining revolutionary variable. Economic unpreparedness is not a prohibition but a mandate. Where productive forces are low and capital is embryonic, the Revolutionary Party inherits the obligation to create the material basis for the system it proclaims. Hence, the backwardness becomes the first laboratory of planned acceleration. And ideology begins its long metamorphosis into administrative temporality. The Revolutionary Act is not the conclusion of historical ripeness, but its generator. The passage teaches that Marx never required advanced capitalism as a prior stage. Rather, the proletarian seizure of power initiates a condition that could otherwise have taken decades of economic evolution. Revolution becomes the shortcut through the missing decades, a technology of temporal compression. So far, only one person said global socialism doesn't end anything besides happiness. That's a very interesting opinion, a value judgment, if anything. Backward countries become theaters of the purest political will. Where no bourgeois order consolidates itself, the Revolutionary Party enters as an institutional vacuum and must assemble the entire architecture of modernity, fiscal policy, rail networks, educational systems, and the very grammar of citizenship. It is the blank page upon which the theory's true shape becomes visible. A minority class can rule only when it becomes the pedagogue of the majority. The proletarian government survives insofar as it articulates peasant interests, informs the peasant did not yet know they desired land restitution, literacy, administrative transparency, and protection from landlord predation. The ruling minority becomes the majority's interpreter and anticipated future. Dual alliances, peasants and workers as forced symbiosis. The solo must find its chorus or it becomes a swan song. A peasant nation becomes socialist only through political seduction, not economic inevitability. The proletarian state does not overpower the village, it must continually convince it. Redistribution, legal security, and moral authority become crucial as tractors and cooperatives. Persuasion replaces class determinism. Coalitions are not natural alliances, but engineered perceptions of mutual benefit. Workers must appear as protectors of peasant survival, not as urban extractors of grain. Peasants must be taught to recognize their material interests in unfamiliar structures. Collectives, cooperatives, land nationalization. Every coalition is a pedagogy disguised as unity. The village's inertia is not reactionary but pre-political. The peasant does not oppose socialism, it simply inhabits a world where politics names something that arrives from outside. Thus, the revolutionary state must translate its abstractions, class, exploitation, surplus plan, into daily grain weight of survival. A revolution that ignores the countryside forfeits the very ground it aims to reorganize. The repeated failures of European uprisings show that the city cannot constitute the nation on its own. If the village sees the revolution as alien, counter-revolution becomes its common sense. The peasant majority becomes modern only when treated as the subject rather than object of transformation. The measure of socialist construction lies not in land decrees, but in whether rural populations internalize themselves as political actors capable of consenting to large-scale structural change. It's solidarity, it's commitment, it's sacrifice to the greater nation state. A lot of this is really redundant and boring. A revolutionary government becomes pedagogical at the moment it realizes that political subjects do not pre-exist political forms. The peasant does not arrive already knowing the categories of exploitation. The worker does not spontaneously intuit the means of collective power, and the state must therefore begin by instructing the very subjects it seeks to empower. This is all like Paulo Freire. The ultimate aim of a revolutionary pedagogue is to render itself unnecessary. When the population can reproduce political comprehension without state assistance, knowing how to analyze policy, critique leaders, plan production, and coordinate labor, the pedagogue dissolves into the collective intelligence it helps to create. I think we're just going to end there. That's part 7. I'm going to do one more part, and then I'm going to start Fractal Islam. I don't know. Share, tell people, subscribe, check out my art, zuccagallery.com. Google my name, Abe Zucca, and I'll see you guys later.